right, I don't know where to go here.
You don't know where to go? It's February 15th, everybody, 2022. Welcome aboard. This is the Crushing Iron Podcast. We are episode 556.
All right.
558. It is an absolutely stunning day here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Sun shining, close to 60 degrees, beautiful. Hope you're all having a wonderful start to the week. Hope you had an awesome weekend. Enjoyed the Super Bowl. You were one of the 100 million viewers. I know Mike Turali. I was shocked.
Is that a fact?
It was. I mean, who knows? I don't even know how they can judge that kind of stuff.
I didn't watch that crap.
Well, I walked in today and I expected you to have your Rams jersey on, and I was kind of surprised that you didn't have you weren't like
rigged,
you didn't have like an LA Lakers hat on with your Rams jacket and like maybe even like an old school Los Angeles Kings like Gretzky onesie. All LA all the time. No,
I mean, if it's not about Showtime LA, then I'm out.
I saw this, maybe it was yesterday, but HBO is coming out with, I think, like a series about the Showtime Lakers, like how they were formed. You being on that? That's a no.
I might be. I don't know.
Yeah,
as long as Gavin Newsom's not in it.
I don't even know who that is. But we know who you are. You're our listeners. If it's your first time tuning in, welcome. We appreciate you giving us your time. We know you have a lot of options in the triathlon podcast universe and just podcasts in general, that your time is valuable. So we appreciate you. We cover it all. We do swim, bike, run specific podcasts. We will do race recaps. We'll also do race previews. But for the most part, Mike and I, as coaches, athletes, best friends, just sit back, relax, have an open, honest discussion about what we're going through, what our athletes are going through. We work with a wide range of athletes, from beginner level athletes looking to complete their very first triathlon, all the way up to elite level amateurs trying to go back to Wacona and win races, and every single person in between. The majority of our athletes, while we are based in Tennessee, here in Chattanooga, most of our athletes are from around the globe and outside the state of Tennessee. So we'll use the conversations we have with them and the kind of feedback loop, email, training peaks, texts, phone calls to drive the topic of the day. We'll also hop into our Facebook group, which we'll be doing today. That's Crushing Iron Group. If you want to be part of that conversation, answer one simple question. We'll let you right in. And we'll use the awesome people in there to drive the discussion. And again, we're going to be doing that today. But that's it. We don't do sponsors. We definitely don't do ads. We do have an agenda, though. That's to keep you happy and healthy in your endurance sports journey.
Yeah.
Like, you're not feeling it today, are you?
No, that's a good point. I actually had to look myself in the mirror this weekend and say, quit being soft.
Oh, you had to have a little talk with yourself.
A little one-on-one with the old Mike.
Well, how did Mike not in the mirror handle Mike in the mirror? How did he like being called soft?
You know, It's like sometimes you just got to get out the door and just suck it up, because it's always the dilemma of like movement is medicine, but sometimes we feel like we don't have the energy to move, but it's a catch-22, right? You got to go do it. So got on the treadmill.
You found the innovation.
Got the pool a couple. I'm just forcing it through, man.
You know what they say? Working. Hey, fake it till you make it. I mean,
right?
You know, which I'm not totally all in on, but
man,
it is.
But it's just, I don't even know what was going on, but like, I like that you're laughing at my struggles.
It's not your struggles. You just went eyes closed for a minute, like you did. Like you were. I could tell you have like some residual funk from this weekend. I can tell. Like, so you're still holding on.
Yeah,
to it
I mean, there's a lot of that going on. A lot of that going on out there.
And but it's funny. Like, well, it's not funny for you, but I was having this conversation earlier. We're hopefully, who knows with us, we're gonna go back to the question that I asked last week in the Facebook group, which was my biggest frustration in training and racing is, and it has gotten the most feedback we've ever gotten from anything in there, which isn't saying much, but we launched into shame and guilt last week. And I know I can speak for you on this, but we appreciate all the positive feedback we got from that. It seemed like we hit the nail on the head for a lot of you and what you're thinking and feeling. And so I'm happy to hear that was helpful for a lot of you, but there's a lot to cover on in this thread that people have, and we'll try to get that today. But what you said, yes, I think everyone's life is tough in their own way, and we like to think our life is always either tougher or easier than other people's. But the reality is, it really only matters how tough your own life is and how you perceive it. And I had this conversation with an athlete yesterday about what our best looks like, and how we oftentimes gauge the result as our ability or inability to do our best, right? I want to give my best, and my best is always equates to, a PRing an Ironman or doing this. And my rebuttal to this athlete was, last year, 2021, they went after like an incredible achievement, like credible feat. Like it was something that not very many people do, period. And I'm not naming as it'll just totally erase the anonymity of what I'm trying to accomplish here. But I said, 1 year you're doing this and training for this incredible effort, an incredible journey, and something that most people can say they've never even done or dreamed of. And this year, and that was your best. This year, because of life and because of all the things going on, your best is just getting out of bed every day and making it through. And I think the best that we give and how that is kind of equated and what we get from that is all about the resistance and in which we're trying to battle, right? So some years our best, we don't have much resistance, right? Life's pretty easy. It's pretty chill. We don't have a lot of things going on in our personal life, and our thoughts are good and our feelings are great, and we're easily motivated, and we have tons of energy, and we're sleeping great. So it's easy to see our best equal out to be something, very, very, awesome or that's very external. But then some days giving your best and giving literally everything you've got is just getting out of bed, right? And making it through the day, or convincing yourself to go down and hop on the treadmill for 30 minutes, right? And I think we, and this maybe goes back to a little bit of what we discussed last week, but I think there's this, we're all results driven now, right? Everything is results driven. What did you get for that? What was your ROI? How's your search engine optimization? Where do you see yourself in 5? Everything is like results, data, numbers. But while I agree with some of it, I think the precedent that it sets for us is that something great has to come from your effort in order for it to be enough. And I think that a lot of people struggle and are struggling with the same thing, right? It's just like you can only have motivation and commitment if you have energy, right? In order to have energy, and we wake up every day, we talk about the same thing. We talk about stress is you wake up every day and you have one stress bucket, right? You don't have your triathlon stress bucket and your life stress bucket and your relationship stress bucket and your professional life stress bucket. Those aren't separate. You don't just, drain one, but still have 3 full ones. It all comes out of the same bucket. Well, in order to have motivation and show commitment and feel, energized to do things, you have to have, a lot of energy for it. And I think when life is kind of sucking, whether it's your thoughts, your emotions, uncertainty, drains that down, and we compare ourselves to the time in which we had very little stress, right? And we're like, why can't I just get it together? The old Mike would have gotten out and done this, and he wouldn't have like that. I'm like, well, the old Mike might not be going through with the same things, or life is just different for a lot of people, but we compare ourselves just like we compare past athletic versions to ourselves and how well we race and like what we're able to do. I think sometimes we forget how clear the path was to be that successful versus how maybe cluttered and difficult and obstacle ridden the path now is to be successful.
Yeah. Before last podcast, I had thought about, hey, maybe we should talk about racing a little bit, the excitement of racing and how, right or wrong, it really kind of pumps a lot of us up or whatever. I was just thinking about that. And then, our athlete email you had sent out, yesterday. And it was funny because I was kind of thinking the same things. We didn't really talk about like what it was like to come back from run camp, but it always has this sort of like, damn,
it's depressing.
Yeah. It's like
depressing,
but I think it's sort of synonymous with racing too. It's like those race weekends and you kind of get done and then, everybody's there and, there's such a group uplift that, maybe those nagging sore ankles and knees don't really bother you as much during run camp or like on race day or around, even before race day, walking around with people, and all that sort of stuff. So, and I don't know why, but it feels like maybe it's because, I guess in the big scope of thing, there hasn't been as many races over the last couple of years, but it just seems like the temperament has sort of changed in a lot of ways where, it felt like races, and I know we're getting into race season too. So that's why, I guess what I'm saying is, kind of in an uplifting sort of fashion rather than, it's easy to get kind of, and I do it all the time. I get kind of sucked into my like malaise of like, oh man, when the race is not for whatever. And like, And it's sort of like we put such emphasis on that we can't really pour ourselves into like, what is today, you know, but you know, this is a cool sport. It's a fun sport. And it's like run camp. And I was saying to somebody, it's like, I guess you just sort of like, it really does take you back to that, you know, like fun childhood play kind of vibe in your life. And man, it's like, how awesome is that? And why don't we have more of it? You know, it's like this whole adulting thing, you know, can get to be a grinder sometimes. I think for everybody, you know, it's like one thing to be responsible, but it's really quite another to be able to have fun in just the simplest situations without always trying to optimize everything about everything, you know?
And you said it great there. And I think one of the largest struggles that athletes have, especially when things are far, like we're getting closer obviously to race season, but it's still pretty far away, right? For most people, it's still, unless you're doing like, you know, Puerto Rico, Oceanside, St. George, Texas, like, for a lot of people are like, wait a minute, I don't race till like October, right? So you got a while, like in the feeling and like you can envision what the finish line is going to feel like and get yourself pumped up and do it. But there's such responsibility. And I think that's where we get ourselves in trouble, is that we feel like we have enough responsibility in our life. Like we have enough shit to do. When you make training a responsibility, I think a lot of times we can kind of revolt and kind of like, you know, rebel against, like, no, I have enough things I quote unquote have to do. I don't know if I can do that today. Like, I don't want to do it. That's me putting my foot down and being like, you know what? I'm not doing, because all the other stuff, I don't have that option, right? I got to get up, got to go to work, got to pay the bills. You got to do all this kind of stuff. You have to do this stuff. And then, but when the closer a race gets, people seem like they can really kind of turn that on to be like, oh, it's no longer a responsibility it's like more of a commitment that I'm comfortable doing. But it all goes back to having fun. Like, you know, you can leave all the camps we do, you know, tri camp, run camp. It's like you leave it and you're energized, right? You're energized to do things. You feel motivated, but the spark in which that flame was lit is gone for a lot of people, just like racing, right? You go through, people talk all the time about the Ironman depression and like what's afterwards. Like the race is the light going out. Right? It's not being lit for most people. It's the light is being, you know, put out because the race is over. And then people are like, what do I do now? All the motivation and the energy I had, like, or same thing coming back from like a run camp we do or a tri camp. It's like, you're so jazzed up. You're riding a high, right? But the high is not anything training related. The high is people related, right? The high is the fact that you've limited and minimized the amount of stress in your life to where you can just, like you said, just kind of be a kid again and just not give a crap or anything else and just go out and run for fun and not stare at your watch and you don't upload it to, you know, Training Peaks or Final Surge or whatever. And you're like, hey, well, compared to last time, it isn't last time. It's like, we have enough, right, of the comparison and the decision making, right? I think is another part that I think really drives people nuts and drives them to not do something is the decision. Like, what do I do today? What do I not do today? How hard do I go? Do I do easy? It's like, again, I got enough decisions to make. Why do I have to make another decision? And sometimes it's like kind of how I feel like about when I send my kid to school, and every other day is like a spirit day and a hat day and a jersey day and an old man day. I'm like, wait, can we just not send them to school with the clothes I have? Like, why do we need to make this more difficult? Like, it's like, and then you got to go buy stuff and you're like, oh, he's got to wear this. And I'm like, wait, why can't we just send him with clothes? Generally just clothes. And, you know, I love you teachers because you guys are great, you know, woefully underpaid and underappreciated. But the spirit days and the clothes days, like, we just got to stop. But that's how I feel about like having one extra thing to be responsible for. And I think when you kind of remove the responsibility, and I got a lot of emails and texts this last weekend specifically about Niels van der Poel's training, the guy who won like the 5K and 10K speed skating. He posted every single workout he's done.
Okay.
Period. Leading up to this goal, period. All of it.
Okay.
I read all of it.
You read every workout?
And I read the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
His whole entire PDF paper. It was fascinating in that it was so insanely simple. He literally did some of the exact same things the training sets over and over and over. It was the most simplistic thing and one of the lines I love that he said in there was, you know, I'm going to misquote it, I think, but he said, speed skating is this simple movement of like a one-legged squat over and over and over again. Why overcomplicate it? So he did a ton of cycling, and I mean, more cycling than you could ever imagine for a speed skater. He did some ultra runs, but he went 5 days on, 2 days off. And that was like the big reason why a lot of athletes sometimes like, oh, he does 5 days on and 2 days off. Well, in those 5 days, he accumulated 30 hours of training. So let's not necessarily compare ourselves to this guy.
Is it in a row?
5 days in a row. Yeah.
Okay.
Monday through Friday on. It's like literally 30 hours of training. And he'd be 6 hours on the bike one day, 6 hours on the bike the next day, 6 hours on the bike the next day, in his aerobic phase. And he had a threshold phase and a race specific phase. Anyway, 2 days off where he basically lived at, and this is the fascinating part for me, two fascinating parts. One was the simplicity of it and how he's like, I just made it simple. Like I don't need to do these fancy, like, strength training for speed skaters. He was like, and then I just laugh when I hear like, oh, this is tri-specific strength training. No, it's not. It's strength training marketed to athletes, make you spend money. We overcomplicate things. He's like, all speed skating is this like one-legged squat over and over and over again. So why overcomplicate and do all these little specific things? And he didn't waste time doing like stretching and all those other kind of weightlifting kind of things. He just did it on the simple movements that he thought would get him the gold medal. But what I thought was really fascinating was that he did these 5 days where he was basically like a professional speed skater. And honestly, it seemed like a professional cyclist. And then he took 2 days to be a human being, to just like totally to go out with his buddies, to have fun, to do like go to concerts and like go out and get drunk sometimes, like just live like a human. And then he said the most motivated he would usually be was on a Monday, because he kind of has that. I mean, most athletes, you tell them like you get 2 days off, like what? No, like I can't take 2 days off. But for him, it worked, right? It doesn't work for everyone. And we're not going to compare ourselves to, gold medalist speed skaters. But I think the separation and the boundary he was able to have between what I want to achieve professionally versus who I want to be, and still kind of maintain that, probably allowed him to do, the unthinkable, and to be able to train at that kind of high level for 5 days, and then be, it'd be like, Lionel Sanders, Jan Frodeno, Gustav Iden training Monday through Friday as the pro triathlete version. And then Saturday, Sunday, just kind of goofing off and going out hanging with your buddies, and basically detached totally from that. I think he went out and did some like ultra runs, some like, long like endurance rides, like totally not his sport, but did it to have fun. And I think the healthy balance, and I think the lesson we could take from that, there's a whole bunch of other training lessons that I might go into next podcast, but is the separation and the responsibility of who you are, and like, am I an Ironman? Am I a runner? And like, I think a lot of people search for that identity, and they feel a responsibility to keep that identity, right? I'm an Ironman, or I'm a runner, or I'm a cyclist, or I'm a swimmer. And if I'm not doing those things, then who am I? What am I doing? Oh, I'm just being lazy. I'm not doing this. It's like, well, I think the point is, or the point I'm trying to make here is that the identity you should be trying to fixate on and to focus on, and what needs it is the Mike Torelli, the Robbie Reese. Like, what do I need as a person? And then how can I make the other things kind of fit into it, and not feeling like I have a responsibility to a sport to make me, fill this, identity that I've chosen to pick for myself. It's a lot of responsibility to put on ourselves and I think to frankly put on a sport to help elevate us to where we feel like we have more meaning in our life when we are something versus when we are not something.
Do you remember Eric Heiden, the speed skater?
Yeah.
I remember, because he grew up in, I think, Madison, and I remember reading a lot about him on how much he cycled too. So I think it obviously is quote unquote a great cross train for, which is why I used to rollerblade all the time.
That's right.
It's a good cross train for cycling. So anyway, but yeah, and then you look at somebody like that, and, what motivates them to go to such levels. And of course, that's the peak of the peak. Mm-hmm. And even he is saying, hey, I need to have a life here, but like what motivates us. And it's sort of like, I keep thinking, we talk about run camp and how much fun it is and how much things, and then we come back and we just do our regular lives, 48 or 50 weeks of the year, and just go through the stuff. I think about when I was back in corporate and I was doing the news stuff, and man, the stress, like I knew it was there, but to think back on it and how much literal stress I was under on a daily basis from the time I got there till the time I left, is unbelievable. My job was to be the promotions guy, and I make promos that would go on air in front of 250,000 people at any given time. And plus everyone that worked there was watching them. And I was always under the radar, or under the gun, I guess, for making mistakes, which I made a ton of them. I mean, it's like, you don't think about this, but like if I air a promo or whatever that says, hey, this is coming up on Sunday. And like, if I, some days it would sneak in and air on Monday, the day after it or something like that. And that stuff just like took a chunk out of me, because it's like, oh my God, the pressure of making mistakes on our daily and always being perfect with every little thing that we do, whether it's, some kind of business decision or whatever like that. And how do you lower the stress of that? Because it's always an onslaught. Like you said, I get 87,000 emails from CEO, search SEO.
Yeah, SEO. Yeah.
Like get better with your website, do this and all that. And it's
sucks.
like, what the hell, man? It's like, where does this ever end? And so how do you kind of take what that example of that guy's story, the speed skater, and what does that mean in your life? Because it's like the minute you start totally identifying as a triathlete, when it's supposed to be fun, it puts like another level of pressure on you, man. And that was the one thing I kind of like, and it's funny, the reason I think we talk about this stuff, because sometimes we have to remind ourselves, and it's good to kind of get it out, because you get in a groove or whatever, you get in a cycle and you kind of forget what the hell the point of it all is. And I had to really go deep again this weekend. And I realized that for me, getting back into the running, getting back into water and all that kind of stuff, I always enjoy going to the pool in the deep end and doing like splashing around with some running, deep water running and that kind of stuff. And it just feels good to me. And that's always sort of a catalyst for me. So what does it take to kind of get you in a place where you're doing things that feel good and it feels like it lines up with who you are as a human, right?
Well, there's something that stuck out to me there that you said, was that in terms of, identities and where we've been, I think for most of us, at any given day, we're trying to both please and motivate and, kind of even argue against three different versions of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
The past version of ourselves, the current version, and where we want to be. And sometimes they're all different, right? Maybe like we're thinking one way because we used to be a way, but we're not anymore. And then that same person is the one that's making plans for the person that we're not, right? And I think like that's something that athletes get into so much trouble with, is that, all right, well, I've never been this kind of, I've always been this, or I've always been that, so I want to do this. You're like, wait a minute. No. Because what you're doing right now is you're making plans based on or assumptions or goals or you're being critical of yourself because that's who you were 2 years ago. So now you're going to make a plan for 2 years from now based on the person you were 2 years ago, while totally neglecting the person you've become. Right? It's like that's so like, and people do that all the time when we read comments in Training Peaks. It's like, I never thought I could do this, or sometimes I'm afraid to. Or you and I both read this a lot. I think I'm really afraid to push myself, right? I'm afraid to go, to go deep. But I'm like the person, and that's a perfect example of, from the chin down, I am someone totally different. But from the chin up, I'm the same person I was 5 years ago. I didn't think I could do this. I can't do that. I'm not this fast. I'm always going to get hurt. I'm never never going to be durable. Never be able to accomplish this, or I can't run that fast with 5K. I'm like, you're operating with like, it's total system error, right? You need a new operator, because your body is like, hello, wait a minute. Like, why are you not like, I'm not asking to be responsible. I'm asking you to use what you've worked so hard to get. And then you make decisions based on, the future and what you can or can't do, again, based on, it's everyone does this with life. It's like we hold on to things. Our memory, I think just the memory in general is fascinating, because it's crazy to me the things that we remember, like so vividly, things in our life that matter and mean things, and it kind of etched into our memory for good, and that also dictate the decisions of things we do or don't do in life. And I think it's very, very important as athletes and as obviously as individuals to really figure out, like, and maybe even stop, kind of like dead in your tracks and be like, wait a minute. Am I making plans for somebody else? because because athletes do this all the time. They make plans for somebody else. They make plans for a single 9 to 5er with no kids, no responsibilities, no travel, nothing. And I'm like, dude, hello, I don't know who you're race scheduling for, but that ain't you, right? Mm-hmm. You're married, 5 kids, you travel every other day of the week, and summer is literally the worst time of year for you to race. But yet, here we go, 3 Ironmans, June, July, and August. And you're like, what do you like? Because what happens is I think everyone does this, right? We don't like how those match, right? We don't like, well, what I thought I was gonna be able to do is totally opposite or going against the grain of who we are and where we are right now. So in our unhappiness or in our frustration and not be able to accomplish something, we basically pulled out of thin air last year or 3 years ago, or when we started the sport, I'm going to qualify for Kona. And then 7 years later, you're like, maybe that's not going to happen. But you're still chasing that versus like, all right, maybe the reality is I can still enjoy this sport and have a really good time and be really fit and accomplish some really great things. It might not be why I got into the sport, but it can be why I stay in the sport and why I continue to have fun. So I think we're always doing this tug of war of like, who made this decision? When did they make it? Am I really acting upon it because that's where I am right now? Or how am I being smart and calculated, but not based on where I was or where I want to be, but like who I am right now, and then actually making decisions that are best for me based on that. And I think it is a trap that athletes fall into every single year. I'm not against having hopes and dreams and goals. I think they're vital. But having ones that are reasonable to set your own self up for success, not physically, but to be able to mentally and emotionally dive and go right into, something that's going to happen maybe in a year or 2 years or 3 years. Like you have to, in order to reach goals, you have to be able to be available and be motivated and feel happy and to do things for a long period of time. You can't throw all your eggs in one basket and expect to get a return in 5 days or 5 months, because what's going to happen is you're going to become disinterested and mad and angry, and then you're going to go nowhere because you won't have been able to train long enough to see the results you wanted to see. So I think 8 out of 10 athletes find themselves in an identity crisis most of the year. They don't know who they know who they are, but they make decisions and they create goals and expectations based on a totally different person.
Would you say there's generally a little uncertainty in the air? Maybe not for you. Maybe I'm just imagining that, because I feel
I think it's
just in the big scope, not just triathlon, whatever. Just like, I think, I kind of feel like this is information overload in some regard. There's just so much now, like so much information, so many points. I can already hear people, going, yeah, 5 days a week too. Live my life, go
dude,
party.
I know, man.
But like there's always a counter to whatever idea you have nowadays. And that's why I think, and I'm not good at it, but that's why I think I'm so passionate about this idea of living in meditation and just not listening to anything, because I do believe that the answers we need are already in us. So we get caught up in, whatever the latest post, the latest tweet, the latest Instagram thing, whatever, all these things are going on. And we just like one day to the next are like, shit, I think I got this down. And then you see something from somebody you like, and it's completely the opposite. And you're like, damn it, man. I'm like, it's almost like, who am I anymore? Because you start getting dragged into these arenas instead of really listening to what's going on. And I think that's why the thing about back to the races or run camp is that we feel safe because there's people around us kind of with generally the same plan, and there's nothing like that. I mean, it's kind of going back to that tribe stuff again, but there's something about that I think that, you can, it's so easy to feel isolated, stay at home, whatever. And now you got all these damn emails and texts and shit coming in all over the place with different, it's like once you think you got it down, you got your baseline, and all of a sudden somebody just whacks it way out of proportion. So I just think there's something in there that can be tricky. And it feels like it's a little heavier these days than it has been for a while, back to ignorance is bliss almost.
Yeah. There's two things there. One, I think people search for variety because they lack confidence in their boredom. I think people.
For sure,
I think
man.
people
you hit on confidence in that newsletter.
Yeah, I think people search for we're human, right? If we all look to be, most people don't look to be proven wrong, right? Or we look to be reaffirmed that we're like, most people don't read things that are, that contradict their way of their belief system or what they think is the right thing to do. Most people read things that will just continuously, reaffirm that they're making the right decisions or the direction they're going is right or what everyone else is doing is wrong. They don't read things that kind of challenge themselves. Same thing goes for people who are skeptical and not confident in what they're doing. You look for, maybe, you know what? Maybe I am doing what I am doing is wrong. Maybe I do need to do, 5 days on and 2 days off, or maybe I do need to do this new, HIIT workout system and do this. Yeah, that's it. I think it's not because you believe it. It's because it's more because you don't believe in what you're doing yourself. It's a total, like the marketing and the business strategy of most people they don't build promoting their products around belief in their products. Same thing goes with training and coaching, is that people market it to your disbelief and your lack of confidence in what you're doing. So what they do is they allow as many opportunities as possible to question what you're doing because you're already questioning it. And now that you've seen something different, see, I knew I was doing it wrong. I knew all this time I was supposed to do in this. And you feel this urge and this thrust of see, I knew I was right. And then about a week later, 2 weeks later, guess what you're doing now? Let's see, Triathlon Magazine says I should be doing 4 days on and 4 days off. And that's it. I knew it. I knew I should be turning. I said it's threshold every day. It's like, none of it is about confidence. It's about your lack of confidence and your lack of belief in what you're doing and that it's working. And that's like when people ask us, all right, I want to do this, and this. What are we going to do? Well, yeah, you're going to do a lot of boring work and it's going to probably take a long time. Like I literally told someone the other day when they told me their goal, I was like, it's going to take us 5 to 7 years. I'm like, that's just reality. Like, it's just reality. It's not marketable, but it's the truth and it's how things work. But you have to believe in it. And like if people say, you gotta trust the process and like, more so you just have to believe that what you're doing is right. Like no matter what, and that was something that I took away from this guy's training was like, he just had this unwavering belief of like, what I'm doing is right for me and it's going to work for me and I'm going to keep it as simple as possible. Right. And he kind of shut his ears off to what everyone else is doing and why they're doing it this way. And he got a gold medal, but I think just that like, and well, you're just being stubborn. I'm like, no, I'm just set in stone to figure out what I want to do my own way. You can do it your own way. And it might be more attractive. It might seem more fun, but I guarantee you next time we talk in 5 more years, you're going to have gone through 18 other your own ways before you get to, the right way. Mm-hmm. And I think we live in a world of distraction. Like everything's all, you forget the 40-hour work week, try the 3-hour work week. Like you can get more done. I'm like, yeah, if you're working part-time at Starbucks for like 2 seconds, like, no, you can't get as much done in 3 hours as you can in 40. It's just not, I'm sorry, it's not. And there's always a shortcut. There's always a this, there's always a that. But it's not marketed because it works. It's marketed to people because you don't believe what you're doing does work. Right. And so I think that when you look at people's training and like maybe I need it. It's not because again, you don't believe it's because you don't believe in yourself, right? And then I need something different to kind of spark what I'm doing or kind of get me out the door. And then I had another point and I totally lost it when I went on my little rant right there that you said that I really, really liked. But I'll find it in a minute.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, you get how many times I have a new theory, not a theory, a practice that I have. Like sometimes I'll get sucked into those things like, whoa, that looks kind of interesting. I want to get ripped.
Oh, can I go?
Is that what it was?
I remember.
Yeah,
no, it has nothing to do with that.
Okay.
But what you said about uncertainty in the air, I felt that this morning. Like you and I were always in the same wavelength when it went up without even talking. But I texted Summer, who's our operations manager. I said, prepare. I'm probably going to drop in, and I am right now, a team 5K this weekend. Okay. I said with some rules. But I said, I have this feeling there's this, people they're not antsy. We're just far from a lot of things. And I think that's uncertainty for people. It's like, you're in this method of training. You're in this mode of, all right, I'm building my aerobic base. I'm doing these things. Like, I need something to shine. I need something to kind of like either A, to get me going, or B, to show me where I am. I kind of need something. I need something firm. I need something. I don't want to kind of go through the motions from some people doing this November, December, January, February, March. Like, they're not doing half marathons or 5Ks or 10Ks. Like their first race isn't until May or June. Like, wait, that's like 8 months removed from anything. You're like, and I think people sometimes need a spark and something they can kind of take control of, which is doing something on their own, right? It's not a race. You just walk out the front door and do your own thing. But I've had that feeling like the last week, just reading through people's kind of Training Peaks comments, is like, I think we don't know a lot of things in life in general, but I think sometimes we get kind of lulled to sleep because we're so far from things that sometimes we need kind of a little, swift kick in the rear to kind of remind us and to kind of re-jolt us of like what that feeling is like to get excited and get motivated and get pumped up for something, and just to get rip out and do it with no other expectations, but to kind of have fun.
Where was I? Oh,
yeah. Now I crushed your.
No, I was talking about getting ripped.
Yeah, you were talking about getting ripped.
Shredded out, yeah, man.
30-second abs.
No, here we go. Like all that stuff just keeps coming in, and man, it's just, marketing definitely plays on your insecurities. I mean, that's been the propaganda since the beginning of marketing. And I was in that field deep. I was all about it. I was like, hey, I can manipulate people's minds with what I say. Mm-hmm. And man, I got to tell you, I mean, because a lot of people will say, you guys should do this, do that. You could put this and we just resist that. I think it is because it's in our guts that we know that, we're just trying to be real, and here I am saying, like, I'm sucking at training right now. I mean, that's not really a good, quote unquote, but I think a lot more people maybe resonate with that. It's like, hey, we're human. We do stuff. We make mistakes, so whenever I see something like that come in and I get antsy, it's sort of like the email that you're going to go crush somebody. Somebody sends you something and you just want to go off on them, and you type it all out and then you just sit on it for a night. At least I've done that before. I put that shredded abs into the cart and I just leave it there for the night. And I wake up and I go, what was I thinking, man?
What was I thinking?
I don't want to do that. But I think that's something to be said for, just, it's so like you need, it's almost like there's so many fixes out there, man, that like, certain ones just seem to hit the spot every once in a while, right? It's like, wow, man, it's getting to be summer. I need to have that beach bod, shred. That sounds pretty good right now. But it's such a reactionary situation. But you're right, man. It's like sometimes you need, I think we're just sort of groomed now for like, we need a new hit, or we need some new excitement. And I mean, there's like workouts called HIIT. Let's like, how about a double T on the end of that? Or is it HIIT or HITT?
High intensity interval training.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, so there's
very fancy.
So we need that, and on and on and on. So I guess we're the unmarketers in some regard.
Yeah. I mean, listen,
I feel good about that.
For sure. 90% of marketing they're not marketing a product. They're marketing your unhappiness. They're marketing your need to feel happy, so you're going to purchase or do X, right? That's what people do. It's like, so next time, like, why do I feel like I need that? And what is it? And I ask people all the time when they sign up for race, like, why do you feel the need that you have to do this? Like, what woke you up today? Like, all right, I've got to sign up for this race. And like, why? Why do you really? And most of the time it's, well, I just don't have anything else really going on in my life right now, and I'm struggling with this. And like, that doesn't make this a good decision. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it usually, sometimes it can be because it kind of galvanizes you into finding a purpose and kind of, maybe taking your life back. But, two wrong decisions don't make a right decision, and I think sometimes the questions we should always ask is like, why am I making this? Why am I doing this? And what's still going to exist after I've made this decision, right? I'm not feeling good about myself. I'm overweight. I'm struggling. I'm depressed. So I'm going to sign up for an Ironman.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. But what of those feelings or, ways of life or, physical appearances, whatever it may be, are still going to exist after you click the register button? All of them. So what are you going to do as a person to remedy the things you want to remedy? Ironman might be the catapult. It might be the one that kicks you out the door, but it's ultimately you. Like, I think sometimes, like, I'm not talking about Ironman, the company. I'm talking about just like triathlon in general. A lot of us use it as a scapegoat to give us and provide all the answers to our lives that we just really don't want to search for on our own. And it gives us something to, obsess about and to think about and to be in that way. It's a great thing for us to focus on. Meanwhile, we're in total denial of like everything else going on in our life at one time. And then boom, race is done. And all those things come flushing back because the race is gone. It's like you have this like all these dammed up emotions and feelings and things in life that you've been totally just neglecting because you're in Ironman training. And then you're done with the race and it's gone, and they all come back and wait a minute, I could have sworn all these fixed themselves because I went on a couple 100-mile bike rides and a couple brick runs and some long swims, and I could have sworn it was going to fix my life. It can galvanize you to be purposeful and motivated to fix areas of your life, but it won't fix your life. You have to be responsible to do that. But that's when you see people swinging all the time for something different, is because what they don't want to do is, you saw over the weekend, I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, I'm soft. Most people don't want to do that. Yeah. Most people won't. They're like, I didn't want to do it. Like, well, I'm getting older. I'm coming off, a little plantar fasciitis, and I probably need to take the next like 2 months off just to be safe. They don't want to do like hey, stop being so fucking soft and get to work. Like, find something and get out there and do it. Most don't want to do that. They want to find or purchase, maybe I'll buy a bike trainer. That'll get me back on the bike. Maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll do that. It's hard to look at yourself in the mirror and try to figure out, what do I really need to fix so I can, do triathlon and have more fun as like the person that gets off the bike. If we put as much effort and time and money into the happiness that we have, let's say we train 2 hours a day, into the happiness of how we're going to be and live the other 22 hours of the day as much time. Well, coach, I've got Ironman Des Moines in June, and the current water temp is 53. Do you think it's going to be wetsuit legal? What? Stop. Like, if that's what you're spending your time on, then usually it means, like, kind of going back to what we talked about last week, is like, if you see a person post repeated motivational quotes and stuff on Facebook, you're like, uh-oh, the ship is going down. Like, somebody, like, throw out a life raft, we need to come help. That's what I think about when people are like going that far in advance to question where everything's like, wait, stop. What else is going wrong in life? Like, you're searching, you're diving down the rabbit hole of triathlon Facebook groups not because you're bored, but because you're trying not to think about something else that you probably should think about. Sit in meditation, have these thoughts and feelings, work through them, and move past it. Instead, you end up, sending me an email with 9 different Aero helmets, asking me which one, fits and looks better, and which one's going to save you, 32 seconds in your Ironman race, when the likelihood is that your fit is already so bad that their Aero helmet's not going to matter.
And yeah, and you're not strong in Aero, but like,
that's right.
But honestly though, I get it. I really have to try to remind myself, because I remember that first year, man, it's just like, it really does like kind of wash all the other shit away, because it's such an intense process to train for Ironman. And it's always this new discovery, like every day you're going out and you're going further than you could in the past. And it's like, I just set a new PR today, and tomorrow I'll do another one. And it'll be like, it just keeps popping. It's just like this amazing sort of diversion. And then, like you said, but man, so I get it. And I think it's sort of like one of those things where you're going, well, I mean, it's better than other shit I'm doing. You know what I mean? It's like, so you want to kind of put that in there, and it does. It sort of puts you in the right direction in a lot of ways. But again, like you're saying, man, the reality is, once that race hits, and then it's like, what'd you say, the peak? Or no, you said it's the end of the shine or something like that. But like, and it's so true. But that's why I think we're so, adamant in figuring out how to enjoy what we're doing on a daily basis, and how it enhances the rest of things around us. And it's like getting old, man. Like a lot of times when you talk to a younger person, they just haven't lived through it yet or whatever, and they don't get it, and they don't want to hear it either. And I think a lot of people don't want to hear it, and I get it. But like you're saying, to sit and really figure out what's going on and then solve that shit. That's the hard part, man. You know, people don't want to do that, including me. You know, sometimes I get into meditational grooves and like the shit starts coming up in my head. And I'm like, whoa, screw that. Give me a candy bar.
Shut that door.
Give me a candy bar and a Coke and let me, you know, like go
disappear and shut down. Yeah. No,
take a nap. You know, it's like, whew.
I think, and we talk about stress a lot and its impact on life and training. And I think one of the things that maybe we can reframe, even we talk about, you know, like, you know, come back from run camp or coming back from a race or doing whatever. It's just as much about, you know, what we have and how life is versus when we come back. It also is okay, well, you know, what do we need to remove, right, from our life to make our day-to-day life maybe feel, you know, this much more, you know, enjoyable? What do we need to, you know, have, you know, how can we create more fun in our life? How can we, you know, have less stress? You know, like, what do we need to remove? Who do we need to stop talking to? You know, what do we need to stop adding? You know, that's what gets us closer, right? So when you come back from run camp, like, I'm super pumped, you know, got to, you know, get away from life and you get them back to normal. It's like, well, instead of being like, oh, I wish I could have that again. It's like, all right, well, what can I do? You might have it all, right? Because none of us worked, and it's like, you know, it's not reality. But what you can do is say, okay, how close can I get to that reality? Kind of like when people, like you said, you dove yourself into triathlon training, you know, and you really, really wanted to do this, you really wanted to do that. And so you disregard all the other kind of crap that's going on in your life, and it kind of all comes flooding back. But what I think that can teach you is, obviously I'm not advocating at any point, like you just don't deal with stuff, but it can show you how great life can be, right? With it. It doesn't mean neglect and ignore everything else. It just means, okay, well, I can like be really, really, really happy and I can enjoy life. Okay, now what do I have to do to like have that just on like a permanent 24-hour basis with or without triathlon? You know, and I think we try to just keep inserting triathlon over and over again. Then at some point, triathlon is no longer going to do that for you. You're going to have to find something else. Right? Oh, I'm going to do ultra running. I'm going to do this. And it's like, why don't we just work on happiness, right? And look at things in the mirror that we have to look at it and do the things we have to do. And I think, you know, I think that's one of the most important, you know, things that we can all kind of work through and strive for is like, all right, well, if triathlon could bring this much happiness and you're doing things, you know, training at you, and that's allowing you to not do other things in life or to work through stress. Like, so it can be like a key code of like, all right, well, if I am this happy and I am doing this, then I can be happy, right? I can't, and if you can be happy with triathlon, you can be happy doing anything. It's more about teaching you what you need to have and what you don't need to have, I think, in life, and what you need to limit or what you should want more of, you know, and how to really prioritize the things in life that matter to allow you to be the happiest.
Mm. And I'm almost 100% convinced that the answer to that is being around people that you feel comfortable with and that you enjoy being with, because it's so easy to turn the other way and just kind of send an email or whatever the case may be. And, you know, we have people who drop by, you know, people dropped by this morning, Matt, you know, it's like, just kind of cool, right? Like, you know, it's like, hey, you know, I grew up, I mean, in a small town in Wisconsin, and I don't know, you know, I fear a lot that I'm like, oh, that old man is like, you know, he's kind of trying to hold on. But I grew up, my grandpa would come over and he'd take me down to my uncle's car business, and we'd sit in this like loungy area and they just shoot the shit and just talk about, you know, nonsense all day. It was like sarcastic jokes and things like that. And it was just like, I always really enjoyed it. You know, it was just fun. And there was no purpose behind it, because they were always ripping on each other and just, you know, doing whatever. But like, where's that? You know, we need, you know, it doesn't just, I don't know, maybe it can for some people, but it doesn't satiate me to go on Instagram and see funny jokes on there, or, you know, I go on there a lot.
You don't LOL?
I'll throw out a LOL.
You throw out a LOL? Really?
Yeah. Usually it's ha, but, you know, like, it's just like, yeah. Is it real? Like I'm not giggling like
God,
this.
If you write LOL, none of you are laughing out loud.
Yeah.
Like I went through this on I think a Zoom or a podcast. Like,
what if you put the emoji laugh face though?
You're
sometimes
still not.
When I go there, sometimes I really do.
You are laughing.
Yeah, it was funny.
Listen,
you can't laugh without the energy of someone else.
It's true. Like
I think.
you don't just sit there. I mean, occasionally someone will say something or text, and I'll legit laugh out loud. But if I do, I'll write out. I just laughed out loud.
Yeah, that has me rolling. Whatever.
That has me rolling on the MFing floor. Yeah, no, you're not on the floor either. Okay, you're sitting in your chair, probably working and doing a PowerPoint, and you're like, oh, that has me rolling on the floor.
See, that's where you want to be.
Exactly.
Right?
You want to be rolling in the MFing floor.
You want to be rolling on the MFing floor.
Yeah, but you're not. You're sitting there doing a PowerPoint.
We hedge. We like hold ourselves back from that roll on the floor.
Yeah, I'm good.
Get on the floor and start laughing.
Yeah, and I like run games. I get to laugh a lot, but yeah, I'm not an LOLer. Like, I'm usually a ha guy, and if you get a ha from me, I'm like, all right, that wasn't that funny. Moving on to the next one.
You gave me a triple ha the other day. I think about something.
Yeah, it was funny though.
It was. Funny.
It was legit funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you get ha ha ha. That's me. That's my version of LOL.
That might have been a
sniffle. Yeah, that's about as good as you're gonna get. Or that's usually a pretty standard one for me too. But yeah, if you get the 3 ha's in succession, I'm laughing. Like you got a good one on me. If I give like a ha ha, I'm like, you know what? That was fine. In a discussion, let's move on. Like, you shot your shot, you missed.
I see you trying over there, man.
Yes, that's it. I can listen. I appreciate the effort. Ha ha. And then I want to put a period at the end and be like, all right, see, that was the end. Like, we're done. This isn't like an open door conversation to you to like throw in some other of your, not so good jokes and funny things like ha ha. Then you see me like go offline, right? I'm no longer available for probably that.
It's mood, right?
If
I send you an Instagram like with a funny video, and I'm in a goofy mood, and you're like in a serious mood, and then you got to click on there and go see it and everything like that, and you're like, yeah, I guess it's all right.
I'm like, yeah, that's not that funny.
Really that funny.
It's not. But if you get a ha, I didn't laugh. I didn't even think it was funny. It's more of a courtesy. It's like a courtesy laugh.
What about ah?
The ha is the courtesy laugh. An AH is like a I can maybe. That's like a solid maybe. A ha is a
solid maybe.
A ha is a courtesy laugh, and it's like the worst of the worst, like courtesy laughs. Like it's like
is that the K of ha?
I can already feel it now. I shouldn't have gone down this rabbit hole because I've got every single athlete I text.
You're going to be hesitating.
It's going right down there. They're like, let me search my text thread for the ha's, and like, oh, coach really didn't give a shit at that point. Or
that depends.
I got a ha ha ha. Like I think I even threw one out this morning, so now I'm going to feel real bad.
Triple ha,
whatever,
or just a single.
No, I didn't get any ha ha ha's today. Let me see. And now you can just yeah, I did. I gave John Heath a ha ha. I didn't laugh. It was funny, but I didn't laugh at all. Now what you could do is, I love you, John Heath, but you didn't probably laugh either. I know. And now, like when you're texting, you can just like hold on to it and just do the ha ha. That's the ultimate lazy. You're like, or you give like the thumbs up on the text. I do that too. You're like, wait, you couldn't even like reply. You just kind of thumbs up me. You're doing something else. You didn't even read that. But yeah, I gave John Heath a ha ha. Yeah, we're back because he said he was number 55 too in high school. And he said, yeah, the good old days. He wasn't really trying to be funny, so I guess I used in the right context. I say, yeah, haha, yeah, back when we were athletes.
That just means you're smiling.
Yeah, smiling. I'm enjoying this conversation.
That's camaraderie right there.
Yeah, and then he was like, I'll stop bothering you. I was like, peace out. Yeah.
That's thumbs up.
Exactly. Yeah, that's another one. Thumbs up. If you get one thumbs up, yeah, it's the conversation. I'm going to move on to things. If you text me again, don't expect a response. It's not because I'm not okay. It's because I'm done texting. The double thumbs up, we're done till probably next week. Yeah, if you give the double thumbs up, you're like,
shit.
Yeah, double thumbs up means I should have thumbs upped you before, but I didn't. So the conversation is still going.
Make up for a little lost ground.
Exactly.
Here.
So I'm going to make up for lost ground. We're obviously sending each other missed signals here. Here's the double thumbs up that you now should know is end of story. Text is done. Might as well erase it because it's not going to be irrelevant from there like 2 weeks.
It's the steak is in it.
It is the steak.
It's like the vampire.
The steak is in it. Or if
emoji.
Someone, and you're the captain of this, you always drop in the K.
I do?
Not as bad as it used to be, but it used to be a chronic K-er. K.
What the fuck is I had, K? Man. It's like
K? You can't even do a okay? Like you couldn't even find the O. You just had to K.
You know, my thought process on that is I see the text and I'm like, okay, he is summoning a response from me, but I don't have, I'm too old.
You're putting the old, you're going to drop the old card.
I got to go back to this keyboard on the phone thing. And it's all the energy I have, man.
Is to drop in a K.
And it's nothing personal.
You pull the old man thing, but like meanwhile you're streaming like 4 YouTubes at once, and you're like, yeah, I'm old man here. Okay, done. And I'm like, hey, he's watching Joe Rogan. That's like that's why I got K'd. Yeah. We're not gonna K you.
Oh man,
we love you. We might give you a double thumbs up or a thumbs up, and you probably frequently give us the ha ha ha. But we appreciate you. We love you. If you need anything, you want to check out our website, go to c26triathlon.com. It's our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. Click on there if you're looking for coaching for this upcoming year. You can click on our coaches tab and figure out more about our coaching roster and find a flavor that fits you. If you need anything, you can always email Mike. He is at crushingiron@gmail.com. And if you need anything from me, you can get a hold of me at c26coach@gmail.com.
All right, man.
Okay.
Ha.